Hello, and welcome to the Andrea Wellness Podcast, a space where we are breaking free from outdated, limiting, and often misogynistic ideas of health and redefining what it truly means to live well as a woman today. This podcast is more than just a conversation about numbers on a scale, anti-aging tips, or metabolic resets. For a long, long time, society has told us as women that your happiness relies on how small you are, how well you age, how quickly you bounce back after having a baby. And the Andrea Wellness Podcast is going to put those myths to rest once and for all. We're going to help you get off the hamster wheel of glorifying and chasing those unrealistic, unsustainable, and often unhealthy goals in the name of beauty and wellness. You're not a project to be fixed, and we're going to tackle all of that, not just in today's episode, but in the episodes to come. Thanks for being here today. I can't wait to dive into today's topic. What is wellness and what's healthy living? What has been portrayed as wellness and health in the mainstream that might not actually be either health or wellness? And what does it mean to redefine health? I say a lot in my bio and on my homepage. I say I want to help women redefine health. Even in my little statement when I, come into the podcast, I say I want to help you as a woman redefine health. But what does that mean? What is health to me? And does my version of health mean anything to you? That's what we're digging into. That's what I really want to talk about today, right now. As I'm recording this podcast episode, we're closing out 2024, and this particular episode of the AKW Podcast is going to release to you, or has released to you, because if you're listening to it, it's already been released the first Friday in January of 2025. So what better time is there to talk about what health and wellness means to you as a woman living in today's climate than right now, when New Year's resolutions are being shoved down your throat continuously. There's an endless propaganda and message of new year, new you. And we're getting that consciously and subconsciously across so many different levels. One of the goals that I hear most often is, quote, I want to get healthy in the new year. But what variation, whose definition of health and wellness are we using to define that goal? Are you just taking for granted what someone else has told you and taught you? Who is it that taught you that? That's what I want to talk about. That's what we're going to talk about today. So let's start off with just by defining the word wellness. We're going to focus on wellness a good bit, okay? So wellness, according to Merriam-Webster, is defined as the quality or state of being in good health, especially as an active sought goal. All right, I'm going to read that one more time. According to Merriam-Webster, wellness is defined as the quality or state of being in good health, especially as an active sought out goal. Kind of vague description, right? I want you to know, if you haven't thought about this, the wellness industry is a multi-trillion-dollar industry that's only growing. In the last decade, it has vastly changed and it has vastly grown. It's super trendy right now, and it preys on women's insecurities instead of focusing on their actual well-being, in my opinion, right? This is all, well, some is based on fact and research and some is my opinion, but that's my opinion, right? That it is super trendy and that it preys on women's insecurities. But let's get clear on one thing together right out the gate that is proven. It is completely unregulated. I know we want to think it's regulated. I know I want to think it's regulated. I want to, think the supplements that all these people are promoting and the green juices and the whatever else is being promoted in this wellness movement. I want to think it's regulated and highly documented and highly studied. It's not. So let's just get that. And that's fact. That's not my opinion. It is not a regulated industry. I personally got sucked into the wellness industry years ago. Over a decade ago. And it felt empowering. I felt like I was taking my own health into my own hands. I felt like I was reaching a level of adulthood that was new and exciting, and I was sucked into it. But I've fallen out of love with the wellness industry in general. and the word wellness. I have a few issues and concerns that I really want to dive into today to bring awareness and help you define what wellness means to you. Like, not the Merriam-Webster dictionary version of wellness, but what does wellness mean to you? Not the TikTok or green juice or cleanse version of wellness, but what does wellness mean to you? That's what it's about, right? What is the relationship that you want to have with your own health and your own wellness? What do the words mean to you? And what's actually moving the needle, not giving the appearance of action? We're going to talk about that more in a little bit, that appearance of action. And let's be real. Let's be honest. I'll be honest. We've all been influenced, right? With some type of like TikTok variation of wellness. We've all been there. It's in our faces 24/7. And it's hard not to fall prey. It's hard not to feel insecure. I get it. I've been there. I'm going to tell you my story in a little bit about green juices, right? And greens powders, I guess I should say. So the first thing I want to talk about, though, before I get into my story, there's like four things that I want to say about wellness that I hope you will use to redefine the word. And these are in no particular order. Okay, they're just things that I feel passionate about. First, I want you to know that wellness products are not a solution. Okay, wellness products are not a solution. So first off, you're not a project that needs to be fixed. Like, you don't need a solution to fix you because you're not broken. Okay, that's a whole nother topic for another day. We don't have time to get into that today. We will at some point, I am sure, because a lot of times the wellness industry makes us feel broken as women. We will cover that. But today I want you to know that the product that you're buying is not the solution. There's an overcompensation just in our culture in general. And that overcompensation shows up in abundance in the wellness industry. The wellness industry is not immune to that overcompensation. The thought that if we buy one more thing, that's going to be the thing that fixes us. That's going to be the thing that projects our wellness to the next level. But please, please, please remind yourself, especially in this digital age, especially in this age where companies are paying people to promote their products because that's the way they're making their biggest buck. Please remember that whoever is offering you this product to fix the problem that they have called out is profiting off of your insecurity. There's a few questions that I encourage you to ask yourself before hitting buy now. What do they gain for me purchasing this product? What problem is this product going to solve for me? And is it truly a problem for me, or has someone told me it's a problem for me? The last question, if I was meeting my most basic needs, would I still consider this a problem? Would I still need this solution? Like, is there a way that I could better meet my most basic needs? Let me explain. Okay, so I told you I was going to tell you my story about greens powders. So years ago, as a new mom, right, my oldest son is about to turn 12. And there was somebody who was very influential in my journey of wellness and in my journey in the fitness industry. And this was before AG1 was like really, really huge. Okay. So this is not an attack on AG1. It was a different greens powder, but they're all the same. Okay. So anyway, this person that I really looked up to was telling me all the wonderful benefits of this greens powder and convinced me that I needed this greens powder and that it was so easy for me to just dump this greens powder in my water and how this would be like the super thing for me, right? To propel my health forward. And she had me convinced that it would be cheaper than going and buying all the components that was in the greens powder, and that it was easier. And as a new mother, I didn't have enough time, and just on and on and on, and all the things it was supposed to help me do, like with an anxiety and sleep and constipation, which I didn't even have, and all these things. I was convinced that this greens powder was the solution, was the product that I needed. And I didn't know I even needed this product till she started telling me, and she started telling me and highlighting all these problems that it could take care of. Even if I didn't have them yet, I probably would experience them at some point. And if I drank this greens powder now, I might not experience them. And I was sold, I was in. But y'all, that greens powder was extremely expensive, and it tasted like sewer water. I don't care what anybody tells you. I've had multiple greens powders at this point, and they all taste like sewer water. And sure, yes, you can probably get accustomed to drinking them, but why? Why? So I did that for a while. And then I learned more. And when you learn more, you do better, right? And I learned, for me personally, again, if you love greens powder, you do you. This is my definition of health. This is my story, my example of one of the ways that overconsumption got me, and one of the ways I came out of it. But I learned that it was not cheaper or for me to drink the greens powder. It was actually pretty darn expensive. I could buy the components in that greens powder cheaper and make actual meals. And guess what? I could get more out of it. Like the bioavailability of the nutrients in the food is different than the bioavailability of the greens powder. Plus, the rest of my family can eat the food that I'm preparing, and they can prepare food for me, and I can eat it. So we're building community, and I'm going back to my basic need of learning and understanding how my nutrition works. And once I did do some education around that, I realized that the greens powder was not meeting my most basic need, but actually learning how to fuel my body and nourish my body and take care of my body through food was the best way for me to take care of my body. So I ditched the greens powder. Now, it's not near as sexy. And the girl that was selling me the greens powder was probably really upset. But for me, it was a better choice. Now, insert whatever product that has allure and promise of ease and sex appeal and making your life easier and improving your health and wellness just by being in your life. Whatever product that you have been sold that to, or you're like on the fence of like, should I buy this thing? Peloton, right? Like, let's go a different route. Peloton. I remember in 2020, Peloton went through the roof because somebody started promoting Peloton, and everybody all of a sudden became a cyclist. And now if you look on the marketplace, there's Pelotons everywhere because most people didn't actually enjoy cycling. So insert any product you want. All right, 2, wellness is a tool. It's a mindset shift. It's a way of being, and it shouldn't make your life harder, but it should make your life easier and more enjoyable long term. If something is making your life miserable in the name of health and wellness, or if you are restricting and limiting so much that it is negatively impacting your relationships and your experiences with your friends and your family, like you're saying no to dinners and vacations, or if you're habit stacking and you have so many morning and evening routines that you have zero time and you're no longer experiencing life, then that's not wellness, my friends. Instead, you are living a life dominated by the ideals of pleasing others, by the ideas of living up to the social standards to earn your value. Right? You're trying to control your own body so much that you can meet the ideals that someone has told you is health. And you're manipulating your day-to-day, your body, your routines, and it is impacting other areas in your life for the name of health. That's not health. Again, health is a tool, a mindset shift, a way of being. If we go back to that Merriam-Webster definition, it is a quality or state of being in good health, especially in an active, sought out goal, But that doesn't mean that it should take over your entire life. Wellness is an understanding there is fluidity to living, and that it involves being fluid, not rigid. I like to say that wellness is like an onion. You've probably all heard that, right? Like onions have layers, and wellness is like an onion. It has layers. And the deeper you start digging into wellness, the more you understand that there's a lot that goes into creating true wellness and true health. It's multifaceted. It's not just one thing. It's not just counting macros to the point to where you can't go out to dinner. It is not just having an 8-step morning routine that impacts, you know, your your ability to go on vacation with your friends. Wellness is understanding that you cannot sacrifice one aspect of your life for the sake of other aspects, right? There's financial wellness, there's spiritual wellness, there's emotional wellness, there's physical wellness. All of these stages of wellness, or not stages, but all these components of wellness make up your health. It is not just one thing. It is not just looking a certain size and fitting into a certain size pant. It's about being able to go to the birthday party and have a slice of cake with your nephew or your niece or your best friend, and not being fearful that you don't know what's in that cake and you're not going to know how to track it. That's no longer wellness. The third thing I want to mention is there's gender discrepancies around wellness that are vast and, in my opinion, totally bullshit. Boys from a young age are taught to be stronger, to be the protector, to be the provider. Phrases like "you throw like a girl" are so common, we don't even really hear the words and the messaging that is sending to both genders. Society loves a silver fox, right? A man has the privilege of staying relevant and even being deemed sexy, and maybe even the picture of health, when he has laugh lines around his eyes and wrinkles on his face and gray hair, right? We idolize that. We're like, wow, he has gotten better with age. That is a silver fox right there. Think about some of the like sexiest men that have shown up on the magazine covers in years past. But now let's think about women. Women don't often have that same privilege. Women and girls are often taught to be smaller, to defy the aging process, right? We often think, well, she's aging well. What does that mean, aging well? That's a podcast for another day, too. We're taught to find ways to dress that are flattering for our figure. And we say things like, oh, she shouldn't wear that. She should wear this instead because that would look much more flattering on her. As if that's what defines us, if that's what we're going for, is that we're trying to be the most appealing to not just the gaze of the opposite sex, but I mean, let's be real. Like, we're taught to be appealing to everybody, even females, and females are often some of the most judgmental. You're also taught to be ashamed of what happens in your bodies from your very first period all the way through menopause, right? We don't talk about those things. We don't talk about our first 12 weeks of pregnancy because we wouldn't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable if we lost the baby. We don't talk about every month how we might not feel good in our bodies. We don't want to talk about how during menopause, right? My mom, okay, let's just talk about this. My mother and her generation never talked about menopause. Like, you just didn't talk about it. My mother, unfortunately, has passed away, and I don't have the opportunity to ask her questions. I don't know what her experience was like. So I have no idea genetically what I am predisposed to because she didn't talk about it when she was alive. Like, that was taboo. It's taboo for girls to like let other people know that they're on their period, right? You hide your tampon. You don't want to say it. And that is completely, utterly not how it should be. As women age, they are taught that they are less relevant. Men get sexier, men turn into silver foxes, women lose their appeal. And we're taught to strive for this youthfulness at all costs at the sake of our financial wellness, of our emotional wellness, and our physical wellness. The number one thing we should focus on is how to look younger. Because once you pass a certain age, once you pass childbearing years, it is all downhill for you. You are outdated, you are expired. And I know for a fact, so some of you may not know listening to this, but I own a boutique Pilates studio. I've been a personal trainer for years. I've been in that world well before I stepped into mindset coaching and feminine empowerment. And I see on a daily basis, and I hear on a daily basis, the conversations that women are having and the struggles that they are facing. And it is wild what is being portrayed as wellness for women and the gender discrepancies between the two. It is disordered. It is a disordered way of thinking, and we applaud it and we idolize it. And that, I mean, to be honest, that is one of the main reasons I started this podcast, because I want women to hear another voice. I want women to know that it is your choice what you listen to, and that you have an option as you age to still see yourself as beautiful. You have an option to be your own silver fox, right? There is a movement with women not dyeing their hair anymore, but I want to keep taking it further. I want you to be comfortable in your own body at any size. I want you to be comfortable with laugh lines. I want you to be comfortable speaking up. I want you to be comfortable not dressing to appease anyone else but yourself. I'm not here to define what wellness is to you or what beauty is to you or what health is to you, but I am here to help you understand that you get to define it. Society has told you one thing, and you have consciously and subconsciously taken in a lot of information and programming from birth through childhood, through adolescence, to adulthood, to wherever you are in your phase of life. And my sole hope in helping you and saying that I want to help you redefine health is I want to give you another voice and new vocabulary to choose from if the definition that you have currently no longer serves you. And only you can decide that. Understand that women have been historically underserved and underrepresented in the conventional healthcare system. And that does have a spillover effect into the wellness industry, because we often feel like we're being gaslighted. We often feel like we don't have representation, and we're just searching for answers, searching for that empowerment, right? Like I said, years ago, I felt like I was taking ownership when I fell into this wellness industry, and I jumped in with both feet because I was like, yes. But it wasn't everything I thought it was going to be. It wasn't all it cracked up to be. But statistically, women are not equally represented in clinical health trials. We suffer disproportionately from autoimmune issues. And those of us who become moms know what a shit show it can be when no one is taking care of the mother after birth and we're all concerned about the baby. Women's health is not equally represented. So therefore, we tend to fall into this wellness culture a lot easier and at a faster rate than men. And the wellness culture is disproportionately targeted towards women. And the fourth thing I want to talk about, I am not gonna dive into a whole lot because it's not my wheelhouse. But I think it is important to mention. Maybe one day I'll have a guest on the podcast who can dive into this more, that it is like their wheelhouse. But there's a lot of social factors that greatly influence your health and your wellness. When your money is going to pay for your most basic needs and you're eating to survive, not eating for health, your definition of health and wellness becomes a very, very different. And that needs to be noted. According to the CDC, your social determinants of health, they're often just referred to as your SDOH. They have shown to have a greater influence of health than most anything else, more than gender. And you can tell I get really irritated about gender, right? But your social determinants of health has more effect on your actual health and wellness than gender, than genetics. How can I not mention it here? Even though I can't speak to it eloquently, how can I not mention it here? If this is one of the most impactful things on your health and wellness. That is a very powerful and eye-opening statement. And I it took me, I had to reflect on that statement some, right? When I started diving into what is wellness and what is health and how do I want to redefine it, I had to spend some time thinking about that and reflecting on that and allowing that to impact what my definition of health and wellness is. Even though the reality is that I grew up in a middle class white American home as a female, and I'm still living that reality. Not everybody has that opportunity, and it needs to be recognized. And in my opinion, that statistic needs to be a part of your own definition. Now, whatever that looks like for you, again, I'm not here to tell you, but it's the awareness and the understanding, right? That wellness, it's not, I just keep going back to like, it's not the TikTok version of wellness, right? It's not the more products you buy. It's not the gender norm of like ladies are supposed to be small and whatever else we're taught as women we're supposed to be. It is wellness is so much more than that, right? Start peeling your onion and deciding what is wellness for you and how do you want to define it. I have my definition and I've really thought about sharing it in this episode, but I'm not going to because again, I can't do this work for you and I don't want to influence your definition. So the final thoughts that I want to leave with you and I want you to take away that's going to help you define it. It's going to help you define wellness for you and health for you. Is that not every tip or wellness or product is going to be right for you. Everybody has limited resources of time and money and energy. And that looks different for every individual one of us. It's your job to get clear on understanding what you want and therefore what changes you want to make and what tools you want to put in place and what mindset shifts. Don't forget that is the most important part. What mindset shifts you need to have to prioritize your version of health and wellness. I want you to remember that it is not the biggest gestures that you do in the name of wellness, like a weekend meditation retreat at an elaborate spa out west, or that thing that you buy, like a Peloton in 2020 when we're all stuck at home that's now collecting dust. It's not those things that define your wellness. It is the small little things that you do consistently 80 or 90% of the time that's going to make the difference. It's the mindset shifts, the realigning, the redefining. That's what's going to make the difference. The getting to know your own body and getting to know what is important to you, not what somebody else has told you is important. Therefore, you're trying to please them and you're trying to accommodate them and you're trying to reach their level of health and wellness. What is health and wellness to you? And it doesn't have to be expensive. Are you meeting your daily needs? Are you getting enough sleep at night? Do you actually know how to nourish your body? Because let me tell you, I grew up in the US school system, public schools. Nobody taught me anything about nutrition. It's kind of astounding. My parents, nobody ever taught them, so they taught me what they knew, but they didn't really know a whole lot. So like, are you actually learning about your body and learning actually from a credible source, not from somebody who just looks the way that you think you're supposed to look, so they must know the information, but actually from a credited source? Are you learning how to care for your body? Sleep, food, fuel, hydration. I mean, those are great places to start. Are you getting outside and getting fresh air? Those are great places to start. Are you getting movement in? Different seasons of life, that can look very different. I've had some very, very hard seasons of life, and my version of health looked different. I have more abundance of time, more abundance of certain resources right now that allow my version of health to look even different than it did 5 years ago, 7 years ago. And understanding that everybody's versions of health based off of cultural, socioeconomic, whatever the case may be, might be different. And it's not your job to judge them. Okay. One of my favorite sayings, keep your side of the street clean. You decide what your version of health is, and you do you. So my hope in releasing this podcast, this episode right now, at the start of 2025, is that for you, if you know me, you know I'm not like a big New Year's resolution person. Like if you are, again, great, you do that. That works for you, you do that. But if you're just making resolutions and then by like, mid-March, it's gone, because statistically that is what happens. But if it works for you, you keep doing your resolutions. But if it doesn't work for you, then here's what I'd like you to do instead. Instead of making a New Year's resolution or maybe an intention, I hope that you'll spend some time incorporating what it might be like to redefine health, what it might be like to redefine wellness. I would love to hear about it if you do. I would love to hear some of the things that maybe you're changing in your life that don't define your health and wellness, that somebody has told you has defined your health and wellness. I would love to hear some of the things that you're eliminating and some of the things that you're adding in. I can tell you some of mine. All right, some of the things. Again, I can elaborate in upcoming episodes. Like I definitely want to do an episode on my Botox journey, because I've been asked to do that a couple times. I'm eliminating Botox and fillers from my 2025, and I did use them in 2024. They will not be going forward with me in 2025. It doesn't serve my version of health, wellness, or aging well. I'm eliminating the idea that smaller is better. I don't need to be a size 2, 4, 6, whatever. I need to be the size of my body that I feel the best in, that I don't feel chronic fatigue in, that I don't feel hormone fluctuations in, that I don't feel like I crash and burn in. I need to be whatever size that body is, that I can get through all the demands of my day and still feel good at the end of the day, to have a relationship with my husband, to still feel good at the end of the day and be able to give to my kids what they need. That's what size body I need. And whatever size that is, that is. Those are just 2 examples. I could literally go on, but like if I keep going on, y'all are going to stop listening to this podcast. It's going to get too long. So just as a recap, okay, 4 things that I want you to think about in terms of wellness when you're thinking of redefining it, because that's your homework. Redefine what wellness is to you moving into 2025. Okay. Wellness is not a product. You cannot buy your wellness. Wellness is a tool. It is a mindset shift. It should make your life easier, not harder. If it is too restrictive, it is not making your life easier. You need to work on that definition again. There are gender discrepancies around wellness, but you don't have to accept them. I refuse to accept them. Okay. If you want to focus on getting stronger versus getting smaller, do it. That's one of my intentions in 2025, is working on getting stronger. So again, I can live better, because hormone balance, right? I am in perimenopause, and there's a lot in perimenopause that tells me that I should be worried about gaining weight and my menopause belly, but I'm not listening to that. I'm listening to I need to get stronger, because that is the body that's going to carry me better through perimenopause. And whatever size that is, that is. Okay. So whatever gender discrepancies that you have fallen prey to in the worlds of wellness, and remember, wellness is more targeted towards women because we are often not as represented in the world of health. Drop those gender discrepancies and pick up whatever works for you. And then number 4, your social factors influence your health and wellness more than anything else, right? So I share that so you don't have guilt around where you're starting from. So you don't have guilt or shame around where you are currently. And so that you understand, I didn't necessarily understand that going in when I started this journey, but that the wellness industry has been very geared to the affluent. And that's important to know because it's a trillion-dollar business. It's a business. If you enjoyed this podcast, like, comment below. Tell me what you liked. Tell me what you're leaving in 2024, what you're taking into 2025, and how you're redefining wellness for you. I would love to know. If you're not comfortable dropping it in a podcast, email me. I am always checking my emails. I am always active on social. Email me at info@andreakwellness.com. Tell me your story. I would love to hear it. I hope this episode leaves you well, and I will see you in February. The first Friday in February, I have a amazing podcast with one of my dear friends, and it's interesting. We've played different roles in each other's wellness. Sometimes the student, sometimes the teacher, sometimes the confidant, sometimes the friend in our own wellness journey. But she is recently gotten additional certifications and education around women's health, and she's very interested in the perimenopause menopause journey because she is in that phase of life as well. So we're going to be talking to her. Her name is Melissa. In February. So I hope you'll join us back for that. And thank you so much for listening and being here today.